Hey guys, obviously a chaotic situation. I know that a lot of you are coming to the feed right now wanting to understand what is actually going on behind me. You can probably see back there the protest, actually the vast majority of it is right there. Gigantic crowd. It's hard to tell at some points who's media, who's actually a participant in the protest, but there are a lot of people, a number of delegates. I was told that there were representatives of the 57 different delegations of varying amounts. But we have, at the very least, hundreds of people, hundreds of media crowding around them, interviewing them, literally hundreds of interviews going on simultaneously. Now, some of you might have been checking on various forms of social media. You might have been on Facebook, you might have been on Twitter, YouTube Live. And so some members of TYT are posting to all of those simultaneously. I've been posting some short snippets of video to Snapchat, some pictures on Twitter and Instagram, but of course that doesn't give you the whole story. And so I can say from listening to interviews going on, and we've got both domestic media, international media, there are people representing basically every different policy idea that has been expressed by Bernie Sanders over the course of this campaign. So I heard a couple of people back there talking about better representation for the Palestinian point of view. Obviously, that was not one of the areas in the platform that Bernie Sanders got everything that he might have wanted, or his representatives on the platform drafting committee might have wanted. You saw earlier on, Jordan was interviewing a woman who was focusing on healthcare reform, the need to make sure that everyone gets insured, and a chaotic scene with people walking in front of the shot. But really, there is everything. I mean, there are people who are focusing specifically on the DNC leaks, on the rigged primary. There are people talking about the economy, all of these different areas. And the reason for that really is that this is not at this point an attempt to get Bernie Sanders to be the nominee. We knew going into this convention that wasn't going to happen, and this was triggered by Bernie Sanders formally handing the nomination over to Hillary Clinton. So instead, this is now a multifaceted reflection of the current state of the continuation of the revolution. And all of those different facets are being represented by the many people still protesting right now. I can't tell you firsthand outside exactly what's happening. I believe that there are at least as many people of the protesters who are currently outside of the building as we have inside. The idea was going to be that we'd have a movement through here, that many people would have been able to get in, but they actually shut that down very quickly. And you probably saw that from Jordan's point of view. Hey, Jimmy Dore. You probably saw that from Jordan's point of view when he was supposed to be our eyes on the scene with our best internet connection, and he was actually stopped at the door, even though he has full press credentials and all of that. Cenk walking by. Cenk was just conducting interviews as well. Now, look, I know that all of you want to know what the end goal of this is going to be, what the resolution of this is going to be. I don't at this point know. I assume the point is to make sure that the media doesn't immediately transition to simply talking about Hillary Clinton as the nominee, and then we go back to the speeches, extolling her virtues and all of that. They want to make sure that we at the very least take this moment to recognize all of the different things that Bernie Sanders was fighting for, and all of his representatives, of which these are the representatives, have been fighting for a year or longer in many cases. And so that's what they're doing. And so you have people with tape over their mouths with a variety of different signs, which you're probably seeing walking by. I can see Natives for Bernie. There were people with insurance-focused signs, a lot of Bernie or bust signs as well, Love Conquers Hate. And so some of the signs that were even on the floor of the convention last night, people have brought those in as well because they are still good slogans. I'm trying to see as much as I can. Unfortunately, I wish that we could get closer. The Wi-Fi situation is a problem. But it's going on, and when I walked over there, there were people saying that the protest was winding down. That might have been true at that point, but it doesn't seem any smaller than it was when I walked over there 15 minutes ago. It doesn't look like they're planning on heading out anytime soon. And honestly, while this is going on, you're obviously wondering what's going on here. I'm also wondering what's going on the convention floor. Are they going on with the speeches as planned? Is Bill Clinton going to be pushed back? I mean, I can see from a live feed of CNN that Bill Clinton is still coming up, but I have to imagine that if a lot of the media is focused on what's happening inside the media tent and outside of it, that's not the context that they want for the speech of the former Democratic president. And obviously, if you don't know the Young Turks, we're dealing with technical problems right now. Not from the Google guys are doing a great job. We're trying to get a live, stable video internet connection out there. And so that's one of the reasons we're doing this interim broadcasting right now. I can see that Cenk is talking with the tech crew to see what we can do. It's really the perfect storm of Wi-Fi connectivity problems, and then the media, the police stopping our best rig from actually moving into the building. But we know that Jordan is doing more interviews right now. I believe that we have a second crew that's outside doing those interviews as well. You saw earlier a representative of the movement, environmental activist. How's it going, Cenk? So, Cenk, you were talking with people out there.
Yes. So I know that it was a little hard to hear on the video I was shooting. So let me just report back all the different things that I've seen, right? So most of those folks are super frustrated. Yes, they're frustrated about different things.
Yeah.
So a lot of them had a complaint about, hey, my sign was taken away. Well, they threatened to strip me of my credentials if I didn't put down a sign. They took my sign from me. They blocked my sign. Now, you might think like, well, that's kind of a small thing to protest about. But in reality, it's symbolic of their frustration of, why won't you just let us have our voice? That's why they were trying to do a silent protest.
Yeah.
And they were saying, no voice. There's Jimmy wandering into our shot.
Don't freak out or anything.
Yeah. And so, no voice, no vote.
Yeah.
And so, but then there was a woman who was mad that the whole system was rigged. And she talked about, there's several women who talked about the system in California and how some percentage of the votes were not counted. There was a person from Nevada.
Or at the very least, took a very long time to count, an oddly long time.
And they're about 2% of the vote they are not at all certain about that could swing an election, etc. There was a person from Nevada who was very upset about what happened in Nevada.
Yeah. I did confirm, though, and I will confirm, up until now, no chairs have been brandished. I haven't seen any chairs thrown, just in case you read that tomorrow.
That is just about the most peaceful protest I've ever seen in my life.
I know. Oh no, this is a lib protest through and through.
Yeah, I talked to an Indian couple. One of them is a physician. The other one is was on the board of a board of a school in North Dakota. They're delegates from North Dakota, and I asked him his name, and then he showed me his address on his thing. I'm like, don't show me the address. He's like, there's no other person in North Dakota with this name.
There aren't that many other people.
Period.
Yeah.
And so, yes. Well, downside of that is it is a list of grievances. So I would ask the question often, what is it that they could do to make you come back into the fold or not protest? And the answer, obviously, for different people were different.
Yeah.
And it was not crystal clear. But to be fair, those are not the organizers. The top organizers actually stuck outside.
Yeah.
And
Jordan. We saw an interview with one of them.
That's right. Jordan interviewed her. And finally, another common theme was superdelegates. Yeah. And so they're very disgruntled about the superdelegates. And that also makes sense. It's one person, one vote is the core of our democracy. And there's no reason why a privileged few should get to have these giant, literally, super votes.
To be worth 10,000 men. Now look, we've apparently gotten...
And they're not even from Bear Island.
Exactly. That's good. Yeah, worth more than the Bear Island Warriors. So we've apparently gotten rid of 2/3 of the superdelegates, which, by the way, would not have happened if it weren't for things like this leading up to the convention. But that, of course, doesn't fix the problem that they did influence this election. It doesn't actually change that.
Yeah, so look, if you ask me what my overall conclusion is, and there was a Sanders delegate there who was not part of the protest, and he was very unhappy about the protest. He happens to be in this room, and he's from Kansas, and he's like, this is not good for the party. And he asked me, what do you think, Cenk? Because almost everybody there watches the Young Turks.
Start interviewing you.
Yeah, there was another person who was super mad at me as if I put the protest together. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, I know I'm responsible for everything. Wouldn't it be cool if I was actually that powerful?
Every protest comes back to you or Lizardmen.
If I was the super delegate worth 100,000.
10 billion votes.
Super Bear Island. Okay. Anyway, so when he asked me, my answer was split. So I on the one hand, I think that their energy is a little dissipated, and I wish they would focus better and have one request. But you have to understand something. a lot of them joined at the last second because they were mad about something that had just happened.
Here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the first two people I talked to, they're like, I don't know, I wouldn't have joined if they hadn't put in a giant banner in front of all the Bernie banners. Why are they trying to shut us out? Another person said that the party leader from California, touched her while they were arguing, like in a way that she was not comfortable with, not sexually, but like
Corey Lewandowski-ish.
Yeah, and so that's why she's here. So a lot of that came together. But overall, protests are not, and I mean this in a great way, not that big a deal. Like, meaning that they're healthy, they're positive, they're part of democracy. So the Democratic Party right now is flipping out, like, this is not party unity. Okay, just calm down. So it is, I don't know how many people are here, 300?
Few hundred, yeah.
Outside, you count it, maximum 500, right?
Which is a significant chunk of all the Bernie delegates. It's like 1/4 of the delegates.
Right. If we're right that it's 500 inside and outside put together. Still, okay, so they did a protest. God bless their hearts.
Yeah.
It's a political convention. They used to do a hell of a lot more than protests.
Yeah. They used to branch chairs.
And they would decide who the president was. And they would have real non-unity.
Yeah.
They would have real divisions. And then one side would win, and it would usually be pretty ugly in how they won, and the other side would be super pissed.
Yeah. Look, I do want to say what I've learned about the sign situation, because that has come up multiple times. I understand that adding this context will probably make people watching this hate me. So, look, they took away signs, and I saw GIFs and video of them taking away signs last night during the earlier speakers, like during Michelle Obama, during Elizabeth Warren. That's totally true, that happened. But to be fair, during Bernie Sanders' speech, they handed out Bernie Sanders signs. So I think that it looks like this is the latest in a long line of needless insults to the movement, to the delegates individually. But what I think it is it's the sort of far too authoritarian wanting all control over what happens. So when the camera pans out in the crowd during Michelle Obama, there can only be Michelle signs. There can't be any other sign. And same for Elizabeth Warren, and then same for Bernie Sanders. They want unity in everything, unity in every image, every video shot. But when you do that to people who are already frustrated, already pissed off, it can be the needle that broke the camel's back or whatever.
Yeah, it is needlessly authoritarian.
Yeah.
There's just no need for it. Yes. And so I talked to I interviewed Jess McIntosh, part of the communications team for Hillary Clinton, earlier today. And when I told her, she seemed like she thought it made sense. Like, hey, we don't need 100% unity. Why don't we just let people voice their thoughts, and then they'll feel better because they felt like they're part of the process. And she seemed to agree. But yet, the organizers of this convention aren't acting that way. And all it does is antagonize people for no reason. For example, this protest, by the way, between me and you and everyone watching, might have happened anyway. But it also might have been a lot smaller.
Yeah, it might have been.
Right.
Yeah, and frustration over things like the DNC leaks. Like, people were going to be mad justifiably about it, but you made it worse and you made it more current when you finally have Debbie Wasserman Schultz step down, and then you give her a position of literal honor in your campaign. It's like they can't help but make these situations worse. And this is today's situation. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was yesterday's situation. God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. They seem to be making a mess of this, a mess.
Yeah, they're not winning with this. No, and so that goes to both of our points, John, which is that they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to have a little disorder, a little disunity, a little dissension, and to hear everybody out. But when you don't, it makes it worse, not better.
Yeah, and look, I understand that the party isn't as dominated by liberals as I want it to be, but it's the liberal side. We're not conservatives. We don't have the authoritarian personality. We don't bow down. We're not supposed to. It's supposed to be like herding cats on this side. And so a little bit of cat herding is not the worst thing. And it shows that your party has passion. And look, from the Trumpian point of view, we found out early on that last night, the first night of the DNC, already had higher viewership than the first night of the RNC. This is probably going to draw eyes. That's what they want. That's probably in the long run what Hillary Clinton wants. Maybe not for this particular reason. But I don't know, showing that your party is the one with passion on its side, that it's passion not just exclusively used to intimidate racial and religious minorities, that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah, you're right. From a circus perspective, which Trump believes is the answer,
Yeah.
it's not a bad circus.
Yeah.
So you get more people to pay attention, and if they're smart, they'll focus that on how progressive the party is and how there's the super progressive and the really progressive wing.
Yeah.
And hey, come join us, because there's a lot of people in this party who are just as angry as you are about how the system is against them. But we're going to fix that together.
Yeah.
That would be the smart way to handle it, instead of
No, there's passion. No, we don't know what to do. Now, do you know what we're going to do? I see that Jimmy Dore is sitting down.
That's right. We're all
What's our
sitting
plan?
So, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to cover both sides. We're going to cover the protests and the speeches. So, John and I are going to sit back down with Jimmy and Anna and momentarily join the speeches in progress. But if there's something happening outside, we've got a camera out there as well, and we've got Jordan obviously out there, and we will switch back and forth depending on what the bigger story is. So stay tuned right here, and we'll be right back.
See you soon, guys. Okay.